Hey everyone, welcome back. It looks like the storm clouds are gathering over Disney, and especially over its crown jewel, Marvel Studios, once known as the unbeatable giant of Hollywood, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The very franchise that redefined superhero movies now seems to be sinking fast. What was once a gold standard of storytelling and success has turned into a battlefield of confused plots, weak CGI, and one box office failure after another. Now, logic would tell anyone in this situation to stop, take a breath, and go back to what worked. Maybe bring back the legends, fix the mistakes, and rebuild that lost spark. But apparently, that's far too simple for Marvel. Instead, according to new rumors, Kevin Feige and his team are reportedly reaching for a secret weapon, a move so wild it might completely backfire. And the people chosen for this risky mission? Two faces that have recently become lightning rods for controversy and online hate. Yes, we're talking about Bella Ramsay and Rachel Zegler, two young actresses who not long ago were being hailed as Hollywood's brightest future stars. Now, they might be stepping into the Marvel universe, possibly even together in the same film. The news alone has left fans divided, some calling it bold, others calling it sabotage from within. So what exactly is going on behind the scenes? Let's break down every detail and find out what's really happening right now. Alright, now, let's move on to what's being called the first potential savior of Marvel's struggling franchise. According to several English-language reports, including sources like Cosmic Book News, Bella Ramsay, star of The Last of Us, is currently being eyed for a major role inside the Marvel Universe. And all signs are pointing towards none other than the long-awaited return of the X-Men. Fans, of course, wasted no time flooding the internet with wild theories, some creative, others downright absurd. But the most likely prediction circulating right now is that Bella Ramsay could be cast as Morph, the character from X-Men '97, a shape-shifting mutant who, in the new version, has been reimagined as non-binary. That would align perfectly with Bella Ramsay's own personal identity. She has openly shared that she prefers they-them pronouns, identifies as non-binary, and doesn't consider herself strictly heterosexual. Interestingly, her character in The Last of Us also belonged to the LGBTQ+ community, so clearly, such roles fit both her personality and her on-screen comfort zone. But here's the twist. Instead of excitement, this rumor has triggered a wave of sarcasm, frustration, and even anger among many Marvel fans. So why exactly is the audience reacting this way? The story of Bella Ramsay is honestly one of the best examples of how quickly fame can flip, from universal love to harsh criticism, all in just a few short years. Although, to be fair, I personally don't think all the hate directed at her is entirely justified. Let's rewind a bit. Everyone remembers Bella's brilliant debut in Game of Thrones. Her character, Lyanna Mormont, was nothing short of iconic. A fierce, fearless little girl who stole every single scene she appeared in. Viewers adored her confidence, critics praised her talent, and it seemed like Bella Ramsay had the world at her feet, a rising star destined for greatness. But then came the announcement that she'd be playing Ellie in The Last of Us, and that's when the internet's love suddenly turned into rage. Before the show even aired, fans of the game unleashed a wave of hate, mocking her looks, calling her not canon, and spreading cruel memes comparing her to a potato person. It was brutal and unfair, because none of it had to do with her acting, only with how she looked. However, after the series finally premiered, especially following the release of the second season, the backlash only intensified. Critics continued to celebrate her performance, nominating her for both the Golden Globes and the Emmys. But a massive part of the audience, including even those who had never played the original game, started finding new reasons to dislike her portrayal. People said her version of Ellie felt too moody, too cold, even irritating at times. They complained that her humor fell flat, and her energy just didn't match the video game character. Although, to be honest, that sounds more like a problem with the writing than with Bella herself. And then came the spark that turned a creative debate into an online war. Bella publicly came out as non-binary, something that instantly triggered a new wave of outrage from conservative corners of the internet. Suddenly, the criticism wasn't just about her role. It became political, ideological, an anti-diversity crusade against what some called forced representation. But instead of backing down, Bella stood her ground. In interviews, she confidently said, "If someone doesn't like the series because of the gays, that's their problem. They don't have to watch it." It was a bold statement, one that earned her respect from many, but also deepened the divide between her supporters and her critics. Now let's be honest, taking such a firm, confrontational stance has never really worked in favor of any celebrity. It always comes off as arrogance, no matter how well-intentioned it might be. And just when people thought the drama around Bella Ramsay was settling down, she added fuel to the fire once again, with what seemed like a completely innocent remark. In a recent interview, Bella casually mentioned that she'd love to play Spider-Man, just so she could work with her The Last of Us co-star, Pedro Pascal, again. That single statement was enough to send the internet into chaos. Within hours, social media was flooded with memes and jokes about a non-binary Spider-Man, about woke casting, and everything in between. And so, the young actress who once captured hearts across the world has now become a symbol of wasted potential. Loved by critics, but mocked by audiences. And guess what? According to new rumors, this same Bella Ramsay is exactly who Kevin Feige wants to bring into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if that's true, well, it fits perfectly with what's been happening inside Disney lately. Bob Iger, the company's CEO, is reportedly demanding blockbuster hits, massive box office returns to restore Disney's dominance. But Feige, instead of returning to the formula that once worked, seems more interested in continuing his social experiments, the kind that get people talking, but not necessarily buying tickets. And here's where it gets even crazier. If you think this controversial plan stops with Bella Ramsay, think again. Because according to insiders, Feige has his eyes on another star, one who's just as divisive, if not more. Enter Rachel Zegler, the actress who somehow managed to become one of Hollywood's most talked about names even before her version of Snow White was released. Of course, you know in what sense she became a legend. Her case is a phenomenon of its own. While Bella Ramsay's criticism came mostly from fans of the source material, and some for her appearance or personal identity, Rachel Zegler's downfall was entirely self-inflicted. In dozens of interviews, Rachel openly mocked the original Snow White, calling it outdated and labeling the prince as a stalker who follows women around. She proudly announced that her version of Snow White wouldn't dream of true love. Instead, she'd be a strong, independent leader focused on her career. The problem wasn't her ambition, it was her attitude. Even Halle Bailey, who faced her own share of controversy after The Little Mermaid, handled things with much more grace. Rachel didn't just act in a divisive remake. She insulted the original movie and everyone who loved it. And that wasn't all. During the 2023 actors' strike, her arrogance resurfaced again. Then came her infamous comments about Trump voters, which alienated nearly half of America. The result? A complete PR disaster. The Snow White remake flopped, and Rachel's once promising career took a nosedive. Industry insiders say that major studios have now quietly started distancing themselves from her. So what did Rachel do next? She retreated to the theater, trying to rebuild her image. In a recent interview, she even claimed she left Hollywood by choice, saying she found everything she needed on stage. But let's be honest, that sounds less like confidence and more like damage control. It's the classic move of someone who's been pushed out, pretending it was all part of the plan. In many ways, Rachel's story mirrors that of Brie Larson, another actress whose fast-tracked rise, controversial interviews, and divisive public image left her standing on the sidelines of Hollywood, searching for redemption in smaller roles. But even after everything that happened, it seems Rachel Zegler still hasn't learned her lesson. If anything, she's managed to dig herself even deeper. According to new reports, aside from Marvel, Rachel is now rumored to be preparing for yet another controversial role, Maria von Trapp in a remake of The Sound of Music. Yes, you heard that right. She's eyeing the iconic character made legendary by Julie Andrews, a role based on a real-life European woman who became a cultural symbol. And once again, Rachel is walking straight into the same trap she did with Snow White. A Latina actress taking on the role of a white European historical figure. A move guaranteed to spark outrage and endless debate online. At this point, it doesn't even feel like casting anymore. It feels like a deliberate provocation, almost as if Rachel is seeking out roles designed to trigger controversy and backlash, and her rumored involvement with Marvel fits that pattern perfectly. Now, you might be wondering, how did Rachel Zegler even get connected to the MCU in the first place? Well, the link is subtle, but very clever. The upcoming X-Men reboot, the same one rumored to feature both Bella Ramsay and Rachel Zegler, is reportedly being written by screenwriter Michael Leslie. And if that name sounds familiar, it should. Michael Leslie wrote The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And who played the lead role in that movie? That's right, Rachel Zegler. Coincidence? Maybe. But in Hollywood, coincidences like these usually aren't accidental. The same writer who worked closely with Rachel and, in many ways, gained recognition in the industry thanks to that collaboration, is now writing the new X-Men script for Kevin Feige. It's entirely possible he's creating a character specifically with Rachel in mind. And honestly, that wouldn't surprise anyone. It's a common trend in Hollywood. Directors and writers often stick with their favorites for years. Just look at legendary duos like Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio, who've built entire eras of cinema together. But here's where things get truly unbelievable. If these rumors turn out to be true, Marvel's so-called rescue plan is unlike anything we've seen before. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, once the most powerful franchise in Hollywood, is now drowning in crisis. Fan trust is at an all-time low, box office results keep plummeting, and the brand that once defined superhero cinema is on life support. And Feige's big idea to save it? To bring in two of the most disliked and scandal-prone young actresses in Hollywood today, Bella Ramsay and Rachel Zegler, and put them together in one movie, the long-awaited reboot of the X-Men. If that's really the plan, it's either an act of genius or a total recipe for disaster. Can you imagine what kind of result this could bring if Marvel really decides to take such superstars on board? The first, once loved by millions, has now turned into a symbol of negativity, mockery, and ridicule among viewers. And the second, a professional provocateur, openly disrespects the classics and sparks hatred simply by her name. Although, to be fair, I personally wouldn't put an equal sign between Bella Ramsay and Rachel Zegler. Still, if this decision truly happens, it won't just be a shot in the foot. It will be complete self-destruction. It's hard to imagine a more certain way to ensure that even the most loyal fans turn away from the franchise, and that the film sets new records for viewer backlash and negative ratings. This strategy is so absurd that it seems like a deliberately planned provocation, and I sincerely hope Marvel and Disney will eventually come to their senses and avoid such madness. But, as we all know, the big bosses often ignore logic and common sense, just to follow their own whims. So we'll see. As they say, time will tell. And what do you think about all this? Write your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks everyone for watching. See you next time.